So let's start. The next is state. Now the state here does not mean we are talking about Article 12 or 36. State in a political terms means a state which is recognized as international level. Like India is a state. Yes or no? So what are the characteristics through which any nations or any entities would be recognized as a state at international level, right? So to be a state, it has its own populations, it has its own territories, defined territories, then it has its own government, and it is being a sovereign. Sovereignty should be there. Then, and this is an essential characters. It means that all the four characters of the state has to be present to call any entity as a state. Clear? Yes or no? Right? Like for example, if I ask you that does India was a state before 1947? Does India was a state before 1947? So how we can answer? We can check whether the India having all the characteristic for the definition of state is required is having or not. So before independence, do India have its populations? Yes. Before independence, do India has its own territories? Yes. Before independence, do the India has its own government? No. That is a government from the British. Do it has a sovereignty? No. It is not sovereign. Now sovereign means independent, free from all the pressure, external or internal pressure. So do it has a sovereignty? No, it was not having an sovereignty. So we can say that the India before independence was not a state. So to become a state, it requires a populations, it requires its own defined territory, having its own government and a sovereign. So if all the four characteristics present in any entity, that entity will be known as an state at international level. Again, I am saying the state does not belongs or does not be definition given under Article 36 or Article 12 of the Constitutions. Is it clear? Now we'll start the historical background. तो तब भी नहीं थे, गवर्नमेंट थी. आप बताइए क्या एज ए होल एज एन इंडिया था ऐसा? सोवरेन थी? So they have been pockets, na? Before Britishers came, there's a pockets. कुछ किसी और अंडर में था. Thank you. Some regions were under the control of some different king. Some different were under the possession of different kings. So as a whole, as an India, it was not there as an state. Individually, it is a state. Is it clear? Okay. Now we'll see the historical background. So to understand the historical background, we need to understand the two things: company rule and crown rule. Right. Now, why there are two types of rule when the Britishers came in India? The India was governed under the two rules, under company rule and under crown rule. For our subject matter, if we have been specified with our subject matter, we have a very limitations from where they will need to study with respect to the political science as a student, right? So before starting this, we should understand what these two rules means. So when the Britishers came in India, they came as an East India Company. Right? So they come as a company for the trading purpose. So they established different factories over the period of time at the different places. Yes or no? Right? So whatever the rule, if we come to know in the British durations, that rule from the 1770 to 1855 or 1853. These were the rules made by the British Parliament related to what? Related to regulating of the affairs of company. These were the regulating laws. Regulating related to what? Affairs of the company in India. East India Company. So the law made till 1853 was a law to regulate the affairs of East India Company in the India. It is not involved, or it is not law related to the peoples, but it is only law related to the East India Company, how they can functions, or what are their rights, what are their power. So it is regulating the affairs of the company. But in 1857, a major incident happened, and that is known as an Sepoy Mutiny or First War of Independence. It's been called by different name by the different historians. So it was also called as an First War of Independence, Sepoy Mutiny, Revolt, 1857 Revolt, whatever you can call. This incident has changed majorly in the political structure of India. So before this period, Britishers were only engaged in the regulating the affairs of the company. As soon the revolt was happened, and this revolt was so intense that it has given blow to the Britishers. So now what they have done? So now after this revolt, they have shifted their attitude towards the government of in India, and they have changed from the company rule to crown rule. So now they have started that given involvement of a people into the government. Why? Because they want for the long run to be established in India. So after the 1857 revolt, the company which is functioning independently with the rule of the law, Britishers, now they have been transferred into the crown rule. So the crown rule start from the 1858 till 1947. What are the another differences between these two rules? So this company rule, during this rule, the structure of the company in India, or the structure of the government in India, is centralized. Centralizations, unitary form of government. The power were started to concentrated at one place. So you might be have learned in the history about what? That Bombay, Madras and Bengal kept under the governor. So for the next period, Bombay and Madras kept under the control of the Bengal. Bengal has given the control of all the status. It means that is to be run through the administrations of Bengal. A centralization control was there. But as soon as the crown rule had started, the decentralization process started. Decentralization process, which was started in 1858, was completed in 1935. When the provinces elections was held in 1936 through the 1935 Act, and provinces were given a power to make laws for themselves, make budget for themselves, discuss budget for themselves. A division of power was there, right? So more power were given to the provinces also, and that provinces were to be elected through the people. So involvement of people were also in the government was given. So this was major change into the political structure of India from the company rule to crown rule. For our perspective, for our sake of study, we are not going to deal with this company rules. We are only dealing with the crown rule, and also in the crown rule we are only dealing with the three acts, that is 1919, 1935 and 1947. Because of the development, it helps to develop the constitutions. We are seeing this in a historical background related to what? Historical background related to development of constitutions. So this has played a major role. Majorly the 1935 Act has an important impact in the formations of constitutions, in the drafting of constitutions. So we are only concerned with this 2-3 articles which we are going to deal with here. Yes or no? Rest you will be studying in the history, in the modern history about the act, the provisions of the act that can be asked, and this is an historical perspective. Is it clear? So first we will see these are the acts. If you see, so company rules have a different act. Regulating Act 1773, as the name suggests, it is to regulate the affairs of the company. Then Pitt's India Act 1784, it is an act to make changes. Then Charter Act 1793, Charter Act 1813, Charter Act 1833 and the Charter Act 1853. The next Charter Act would be in the place is 1873 after 20 years. But before that, mutiny was happened, so there was no Charter Act came. So in 1958 it came a Good Governance Act, or the Government of India Act 1958, where the transformations of power from company to the crown has been transferred. Okay? So Governor General was made Viceroy by the 1858 Act. Yes? Yes or no? Yes. In place of Court of Director Act and Board of Control, a new system is created, Secretary of State of India, right? Which is to be governed through the Viceroy in the India. Next is Crown Rule. (1858) Government of India Act, that is also known as Good Governance Act. Why? Because they have the Britishers have said that now the rule will be made to involve for the betterment of people of India. That is a Good Governance Act. Okay? India Council Act 1868, India Council Act 1892. This is Morlemento Reform 1909. And why it is important? It is important for one reason. Why important? 1909 is important for separate electorate. Minto came to be known as a father of communalism. The first time it has given a separate electorate for the Muslims, right? And why it is known as a Morley Minto reforms? Morley was SOS, Secretary of State, and Minto was Viceroy of India. So because of this, it is known as a Morley Minto reform. Similarly, Act 1990 known as a Montague-Chelmsford reform. Montague was SOS and Chelmsford was Viceroy of India. Is it clear? Yes or no? Now we'll deal with the 1935 and 47. This is the Government of India Act 1947 and this is India Independence Act 1947, which has provided an independence to the dominion status to the India. What is a dominion status? Dominion status means what? What is dominion status? G? Power of all. Dominion status means sovereign? No, dominion does not mean sovereign. Dominion means you are free, but you are not sovereign. You do not have a Purna Swaraj. Demand हुई ना पूर्ण स्वराज की, Yes or no? Why they have been demanding Purna Swaraj? They do not want a dominion status. They want a Purna Swaraj, complete independence from the British. It means the peoples of India were been free to make rules, regulations for themselves. They do not want any interference from the Britishers, not from even from the Crown or British Parliament. Okay? So we'll see this. So now we'll see the Government of India Act 1919, which is also known as Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. So what changes does it make? So first it makes a diarchy in the province. What is diarchy? Diarchy means dual government. Diarchy means dual government. How this diarchy has been established? Any doubt? How the diarchy has been established? What are the provisions? That it has divided the subject into reserved subject and transferred subject. So it means the subject matter. Subject means the provinces were allowed to make laws on what matter that has been divided into the two different heading. One is reserve and one is transfer subject. Right? Now reserved subject, what is difference between this? So reserved subject were to be governed or administered by the governor with officials member of the council, right? And these officials members were not responsible or answerable to the legislature. So there, suppose their provinces were given a 10 or 15 or 8, any number of subjects. So out of that, the subject is again divided between the reserve and transfer. So there are certain reserve subjects which is to be administered by the governor with officials members. Those officials members were not responsible. Whatever the act they do, or whatever the suggestions they give to the, or whatever the administrations they perform, they are not been answerable in the legislature. Yes or no? So you can understand the important subject related to the provinces were kept under the reserve subject. That's why it is known as a reserve subject. Yes. Okay. Transfer subject. This is to be administered by governor along with whom? With ministers. And these, they are the responsible to the legislature. So whatever they do or whatever they do in their capacity, they have to answer in the legislature for the act. Only for those which has been kept under the transferred subject. So this is a dual or diarchy in the provinces. Yes or no? Any doubt? Is it clear? Next. So it says that Indian legislature more representative. What does it mean? It means the number of the legislature, members into the legislature was increased. And out of this total representative of the legislature, it has been divided into two, that is officials member and non-officials member. So these officials members are who? Who are the ministers, who are elected by the peoples. Officials member are who? Who are nominated by the governor in the representative or in the legislature. Yes or no? Are you getting my point? Nahin. So this membership into the legislature is been divided into two parts. Officials and non-officials. Officials appointed by the governor. Non-officials elected by the people, which becomes a ministers, through which the governor perform the reserve transfer subject administrations. Official subject members through which the governor performs the reserved subject administrations. So representation is wider. It means more Indian provinces people were given the representation through the elections. Yes or no? And they came to be known as a non-officials members to the legislature. Is it clear? Any doubt? Clear? Next, It says that it has a relaxations of central control over provinces. Earlier there was an, as I said, from 1773 to 1858, a decentralization was there, control of center over the provinces. But from the 1858, it has started and losing the control, which is one of the result that relaxation of the of center over the provinces was more in this period. It means they have been allowed to discuss budget. It means they have been allowed to introduce the subject matter into the provinces related to budget or discussions, anything. So center control has been made less through the 1919 Act. Yes or no? Earlier what happened? They have no power to discuss on budget. They have no power to introduce without the permissions of the Governor General any legislation into the provinces. Through subsequent act, this has been lessened. The control has been lessened into the provinces. Okay? Yes or no? Next is Government of India Act. So the first provisions is creation of an All India Federations. So Government of India Act 1935 has created an All India Federations, which includes the British province plus Indian states, or princely state, or whatever you may call. British provinces were mandatory to join the All India Federations, but Indian states were given an options to join. It means it isn't discretionary to the Indian states. If they want, they can join the federations. If they do not want, they cannot join the federations. But the provinces, British provinces, we have seen what is a British provinces. So the British provinces are mandatory to join the federations. The reason, or due to the Indian states were given an options, discretions, whether they want, they can join or not. So Indian states do not join the federations. So the All India Federations never came into being. Why? Because Indian states never joined the federations. Is it clear? Yes or no? Any doubt? No? No. Good. Next, division of power. Division of power means now the subject matter has been divided. A list has been introduced. That is federal list, provincial list and concurrent list. The list what we see today in the 7th schedule, that is an example of division of power that has been introduced through the 1935, that there will be a 3 list: provincial list, federal list and concurrent list. So this federal list come under the complete control of federal government, that is central government at the top. This provincial list come under the control of provincial legislature, right? And concurrent list come under the control of both federal plus provincial legislature. It means they both are allowed to make laws in the matter of this, right? But the residuary power. What is residuary power? What is residuary? Leftover, remain, right? So residuary is an leftover or remain. So if any subject matter which does not have mention in either of the list, if any subject come up or it requires to make laws on any those matter which does not have a mention in either of this list, then who is empowered to make law? Governor General, not the legislature. In 1935 Act, the residuary power goes to the Governor General or Viceroy, whatever you can say. Yes or no? So residuary power means any subject matter which does not have a mention in the either of the list. Division of power, the list which has been provided by the Act 1935. And this Act also says that if any such subject matter come up and any laws required for that regulation of that subject matter, so it is Governor General who will make laws on that matter. So residuary power according to 1935 went to the Governor General or Viceroy, whatever you can say. Is it clear? Next, provincial autonomy means provinces. British provinces were given an autonomy, free to functions as through the division of power. It means they were given a subject matter that now you can make laws on these matters. That is through the legislations. So through this division of power, provincial autonomy has been given. So now the provinces were free to make laws, what law they want, according to their, through the legislations. Clear? Diarchy at the center. Diarchy means dual government. So 1919 has provided diarchy at provinces. 1935 abolished the diarchy at province and created a diarchy at center. So the diarchy which was given by 1919 to the provinces, this was abolished by 1935 and created by 1935 with the diarchy at center. And diarchy means dual government, means reserve subject and transfer subject. So out of this list of the federal list, the list at which the federal government is allowed to make laws, this list has been divided into reserved and transfer subject. This is diarchy. Yes or no? So this reserved subject come under the control of an Governor General plus his officials member, and they are not responsible to legislature. Similar to that of 1919, right? And similarly to transfer subject, governed through the Governor General plus ministers who are responsible to legislature. Yes or no? Okay. Next, the bicameral legislature. It means the two houses were established at the federal. Lower house plus upper house. Two houses to be established. A bicameral feature was introduced by the 1935 Act. Any doubt? Yes or no? Ministers are responsible. Governor General is not responsible. Ministers are responsible. Governor General has been appointed by the Crown. He is a representative of Crown in India. पहले जो before 1857 they are the representative of East India Company. Now after that they have been become representative of Crown in India as a government, not as a company. जब British India में आई थी तब as a company आई थी ना for the trade. Then they have started to administer, enter into the governance. Yes or no? Any doubt? Sir, last. Confusion है कुछ? नहीं? चलिए then. Let's see the next. So next is India Independence Act. Ji, any question? So next is India Independence Act 1947. So this act has made what? This act has given an two dominion. India as a dominion and Pakistan as a dominion. So it has established a two dominion. So who is a last Governor General of independent India? And who is the first Governor General of independent India? विलियम बेंटिक. बेंटिक तो कब का? C. Rajagopalachari was the first Indian Viceroy of independent India. C. Rajagopalachari, Indian Viceroy. And Mountbatten was either British independent India. ठीक है, चलिए. So we'll see the first what he has done is, so it has abolished the sovereignty of Britain. Crown. Excuse me. So it has abolished the sovereignty of crown. So the crown is no longer, or British Parliament is no longer sovereign to the India. So all that law who will now make? India itself is going to make laws related to the what law they want. They can be made by themselves. Crown no longer the source of authority. So now the Indian people have no loyalty from this. It means that now the Indians were not showing their allegiance or loyalty towards the crown. Now the crown has no source of authority to the India. Are you getting my point? Right? So it means that crown has abolished the Kazare-Hind, Emperor of India, the title which has been given to the crown. They have abolished the crown title. Now the source of India, or the source, like the crown has a power to ratify the bill passed by the Indian government. Now that is after 1947, that ratification power is not been given to the crown. That is to be done by the Governor General. Take. Now, Governor General and provincial governors are constitutional head. So they are constitutional head. It means they are not independent in their functioning. It means they are not doing anything in their discretionary. So what they are doing? They have to function on the advice of ministers. At the federal level also there will be a government. So there will be functioning on the advice of the ministers. At the provincial level there will be a minister. They will have to form ministers. 1946 में election हुई थी? Yes या no? 1946 election हुआ था ना? Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru become the prime minister in 1947. नहीं, the Congress has a government in 9 provinces out of the 11. So it means that now they will acting as a constitutional head. They have no discretionary. Now they have been working on the advice of ministers. Okay. Then sovereignty of a dominion legislature. It means it is a dominion, not complete independence. So the Indian legislature, that is a parliament, what we can say, is a dominion, but they have a sovereign power. It means now they can repeal any act. 1935 act also they can repeal. They can also repeal the 1947 act. They can adopt any act they want. So sovereignty was provided to the dominion legislations. But that act has to be ratified by the Governor General. So ratifications or what we can say assent by Governor General. Is it clear? Any doubt? Any question? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल हेड हाँ प्रेसिडेंट नहीं रहा क्योंकि मोनार्कियल लेकिन तब तक जब तक नहीं है तब तक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल हेड होगा 19 हाँ, so ठीक है, any doubt? Is it clear? So this is Act of 1947. Now we'll see the features, salient feature of the constitutions. What are the salient features? ठीक है, चलिए. So the salient feature has been divided into three segments, three parts, 1, 2, and 3. The first part we are discussing. Salient feature means, what is salient feature? Unique. So what is a unique feature of Indian Constitution? Now why we are studying a unique feature? Because there is an allegations, or there is an what we can say, the concept theory that framers of the Indian Constitution, they have adopted an world constitutions. It is a borrowed constitution. Allegations, criticisms है कि Indian Constitution is considered as a borrowed constitutions. So it is not a borrowed constitutions. The framers of the Indian Constitution, they have taken an inspirations from the world constitutions. They have answered this question in the assembly during the discussions on Constituent Assembly when it allegations came up. So they says कि we do not borrow exact provisions of the world constitution. So we have taken the practical experience of those nations which have been come across while practicing those provisions. So we are taking an experience also of that nations that should mitigate the differences, should mitigate the disputes, right? So that becomes a unique feature of the Indian constitutions. So what are its uniqueness? Though we have taken an inspirations from the world constitutions, though we have studied many world constitutions, still we have a uniqueness in its own feature. You cannot say that exactly the same as that of America or exactly the same that of an Britain. Though we have taken some provisions from there, but we have a uniqueness in our own selves that we are going to study. Yes or no? Clear? The first uniqueness is lengthiest written constitution. This is the world most bulkiest constitution or lengthiest constitutions. What is the oldest constitutions? USA, but it is not such lengthiest or bulkiest. So we have an lengthiest written constitutions. Now why Indian Constitution is a lengthiest constitutions? चलिए मान लेते हैं एक लॉजिक आपका कि दैट वी हैव टेकन इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम लॉट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. ठीक है, चलिए टेकन इंस्पिरेशंस. ठीक है, इज देयर ओनली वन रीजन और भी कुछ है? कोरस नहीं. डिटेल व्हाट? डिटेल व्हाट? Lengthiest constitutions. The first says inspirations. Second, a detailed provision, right? So every provision is in detailed, okay? Or anything else? But only two reasons. This is the reason why that is a handwritten. Do you have a constitution copy? Someone has na PM Bakshi. So that is an handwritten. Still it is a bulkiest. So handwritten is not that options. The diversity of people, how it is going to make it bulkiest? That do the America does not have a diversity? No. Coming to you. No, I understand that we have a different diversity, but how it contribute in bulkiest? Exactly. So being a diverse nation, it addressed every section. Now we can say this. Anything else? Suppose यही क्वेश्चन हो आपके मेंस में. Indian Constitution is the lengthiest written constitutions. Explain. Do you agree? तो आंसर में yes या no नहीं लिखना है. Yes, I agree. Next question. So this is now how you cannot write the answer like this, na? Or no, I do not agree. Next question. So what are the, you know, anything else? We have a single constitutions for the state and center. Unlike America, where there are dual constitution policy. So federal government has a separate constitutions. Each state have a different constitutions. But we have a single constitutions. Yes or no? Right? Anything else? We have a detailed provisions with respect to administration also. Unlike America, they have only the detailed provisions with respect to the government. We have a detailed provisions with respect to not only with the government but also an administrative structure. So detailed provisions with respect to administrative structure. Like election commission कैसे काम करेगी? It's an administrative policy, yes or no? Finance commissions कैसे काम कर रहा है? UPSC का काम क्या? What is the role of the UPSC? What is the role of the state public service commissions? Attorney General is going to work. What functions, what responsibilities, duty? In the detailed, we have an administrative also. And why we have chosen an detailed administrations? Why we not chosen the American style of leaving the detail to the day-to-day government? They do not have mentions the detailed administrative provisions. American Constitution, they have only the detailed government policies. Why? The reason? There is two reasons. First, we are acquainted with that administration. Second, if the India being a newly independent nations, not rich in its terms of experience, not rich in terms of, you can say that economically we are weak. We have a marginalized sections, we have a poor populations, illiteracy. So it is a high chance that when administration is to be left in the day-to-day government, they may misuse the administrations and they have mold the law according to themselves, and the most marginalized sections group may be left over. So to include those marginalized sections or to addressing of every section's interest, it is necessary that we have an detailed administrative provisions in the constitutions. Yes or no? Is it clear? So these are the reasons why we have an lengthiest. One also reason we can say that special provisions for the backward classes, special provisions for certain states. Do certain states have any special provisions other than 370? Other than 370, do states have a special provisions? Yes, 371A, 371B, 371C, 371D. These are the special provisions given to certain specific states. Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Goa. Yes or no? Nagaland, Mizoram, Tamil Nadu. They were given a special status. So this also makes it a bulkier. Any doubt? Any question? So these are the reason why we have an lengthiest written constitutions. ठीक है? Any questions? नहीं? चलिए. Now we see the next. Next is drawn from various sources. So how many constitutions, world constitutions we have inspired? 11. So there are 11 constitutions from which we have been inspired. So this is an list from where we have been inspired. So first of all, we have inspired from the Government of India Act 1935 Act. What are the provisions we have taken from Government of India Act 1935 Act? We have taken a federal schemes. We have taken administrative details of the 1935 Act. We have taken an office of governor. Then we have taken a judiciary. We have taken public service commissions. You can write down all these provisions. Then we have taken an emergency provisions from the Government of India Act 1935. Excuse me. Let me know when you finished. Finish? There. Then we have taken up British constitutions like parliamentary form of government, cabinet systems, legislative procedure, parliamentary privileges, speaker, rule of law, writs, prerogative writs, single citizenship, and bicameralism. Sorry? Bicameralism, but that is, they have just introduced. All the process we have taken from lower house, upper house. वो तो 1935 एक्ट में तो ब्रिटिश कॉन्स्टिट्यूशंस भी है ना. Done? Can we move to the next slide? Write it fast. Done? Next is US constitutions. So from United States of America, American Constitution, what we have taken? Idea of preamble, fundamental rights, separation of power, equal protection of law, impeachment of president, judicial review, post of vice president, independent judiciary, and removal of judges of Supreme Court and High Court. This we have taken from the American constitutions. We have also taken certain provisions from the Canadian constitutions, like federation with a strong center, advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court, division of power, appointment of governor of a state by center, vesting of residuary power in the center is taken from Canadian constitutions. We have also inspired from Australian constitutions, like concurrent list. Out of the 3 lists, the 3rd list we have taken from Australia. Freedom of trade, intercourse and commerce, joint sitting of 2 houses of parliament, and language of preamble. Write it fast. Oh.
Ese notes पकड़ी को